Sitting outside in abandoned raging waters in Cunningham Park, San Jose, California, I'm Schmitty, and this is Talkin Schmit. Today we have reached a milestone, kids. You see, today is episode 200, and honestly, I'm smiling about it. I think from the get-go, once I really started doing these, the thought of 100 episodes seemed obtainable. However, 200? I know I don't come equipped with the most self-confidence under the hood, but yeah, 200 seemed like it was gonna be tough, especially since I've done almost every part of this journey solitaire style, and it's not my top priority. I got another job, I got a wife, I got a dog, you know, the whole deal. So anyway, I'm just patting myself on the back here a little bit. Okay, well, with all that being said, I wanted this episode to be special. And by that, I don't mean a sarcastic special. I mean like one for the books special for both the listener and also for myself. So without too much hesitation, I called upon my old friend that just happens to be one of the pioneers that had a huge part of creating the voice, the photos, the music, the logos, and all that shaped Thrasher magazine in its early day growth in Hunters Point. That's right. Episode 200 is going to be a two-parter with the one and only Mofo. Mo is a gracious guy, and he's honored me with yet another appearance on my podcast, and it means a lot to me that he wanted to do it in person. So I packed up my equipment, met down at his house in San Jose, and he had a bunch of equipment, and we headed over to Cunningham Park and set it all up, played with a bunch of mics, adjusted settings, got caught up, and basically made a full day of it. Okay, so before we get to our advertisers and the interview, I just want to thank each and every one of you who has been on part or all of this journey. It's not over, but today I look back and reflect and say, thank you, listeners. Thank you, McCanny. Thank you to every guest. Thank you, distributors. Thank you, advertisers. Thank you, Blood Wizard. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, San Carlos. Thank you, skate shops everywhere. Thank you, Honeybee. Thank you, Life. Thank you, my beautiful wife.
How about letting us listen to Mofo?
This is Mofo, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit.
Hey, Talkin Schmit. I'm already not watching.
It's cool, like tonight is the night.
Damn, this is like the coolest thing I'm ever gonna do.
I wouldn't say it was fun.
What do you mean, bro? Christian Fletcher's younger brother.
Fuck the Dodgers.
Big Dog's in. What do you think, Tolan?
We on? Schmitty?
Talkin Schmit.
Alpha macaroni.
Most of these guys, their opinion don't matter.
Talkin Schmit, right?
It's skateboarding.
I remember that.
Talkin Schmit.
What are yuns doing?
Holy shit.
Skateboarding homies.
No, Schmitty, you can't jump in.
What is happening?
Let's hear it for Greg Swift. Yeah!
Gregory.
Yes, we are. Wi-Fi check 1, Wi-Fi check 2.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Talkin Schmit. I'm Schmitty, and I'm here. Where are we? Lake Cunningham Park with Mofo. We got like all kinds of mics. We've done a bunch of different little tests with all kinds of different things, but catching up with Mo again. How you doing, Mo?
Doing great. Nice day out. Airplanes flying overhead. Wind blowing. No clouds.
No clouds. Blue skies and joggers.
Yeah, that just sounds some bouncing by.
Working with Gator Frameworks. We've got, what do we got? What's this one called?
Fang Dong.
Fang Dong. We got Fang Dong in the front. We got some condensers, dynamic.
Fang Dong condenser mic. Electro Voice Raven.
Uh-huh.
We got a neat worker bee. And we got an SE V7 Chrome stage mic. that's dynamic.
There you have it. There you have it. So we're diving in. I did an interview with Mo, episode 99. That was 101 episodes ago. And following that episode was episode 100 with Mr. Tommy Guerrero.
That's hilarious. What year was that?
When I started the interview with Tommy, he's like, man, that Mofo interview, it was good, but it felt like you just got started. There's so much more. So we're back, and we're going to talk more. I think Mo's going to give us a story about a behind-the-scenes look at some of his photos. I got some questions from some of the dudes in the industry, and we're just going to shoot the shit and see what happens. So,
see what happens.
The first one actually comes from Tommy, and he was asking how did the Mofo name come about?
Well, back in the 70s, I was making skateboards for this guy named Ron Mowry. And he was making them in his garage, and I was just doing that in his garage, and I ended up making some boards my own shape and came up with a name for it, and I came up with Mofo skateboards. And then all the guys just would call me that whenever I went to the Winchester or Campbell Skate Park, and they just kept calling me that, and that was my name. And then eventually, after I started work at Thrasher, and after a few girlfriends' parents asked me, well, what does Mofo stand for? And after I told them, I made that mistake more than a few times, explaining what that meant. So I invented a name that it could be short for. And it turns out that the name that I thought I invented was actually a real name in Europe. And not only that, it turns out that that region that name is from, Alsace-Lorraine, was where my grandfather's family came from on my dad's side.
Oh, damn.
My dad's parents were Lithuanian and Alsatian, which was like French-German border, and it kind of fluctuated back and forth through history. So it turns out that it's a real name from there.
Wow.
I did not know that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Some German people came, or Austrian or whatever, people came to the Thrasher offices, and they're like going, oh, interesting name, Moritzen. I'm like, that's a real name? Oh, yeah. How do you pronounce it? Moritzen. Really? It's a real name, and it has a way that it's pronounced. I had no idea.
There you got it, Tommy. So now you know.
Fucking Tommy.
Weren't you on
Love
a flight
guy.
with Tommy's first flight was with you and maybe Fausto or Swenson or something? I think I remember right.
Yeah, he little skinny and swarthy. I mean that he and terrified on that flight. And then I think he was also on the flight to Japan, where nobody was daring to fall asleep because those who did got Sharpied on their face.
Oh, yeah, the old Sharpie with some not so pleasant art on your forehead.
Yep. And I think Craig Johnson was he was sitting behind us on the plane, and he was on acid, and he was playing. He bought a blast box at the airport in New York, and one cassette, which was Andrew Dice Clay. So it was my introduction to Andrew Dice Clay, over and over and over again, blasting. He had the thing on his lap, just blasting that Hickory dickory dock.
The mouse ran up the clock.
Fuck you. Okay.
And he was sucking money.
And we actually drank the plane out of beer.
Damn.
They tried serving us twice. They came to me like if I was some sort of spokesperson. I don't know why they thought that. But I said, okay, if you're going to cut off everyone from beer, I'm not causing the problems. So give me 6 beers, and then you can cut off everybody else. And then the stewardess started crying, and the pilot came, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing out here? Why aren't you flying the plane?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the stewardess was crying, and I'm like, why are you talking to me? There's like 30 guys here. Yeah. One peed all over himself, and then one, they climbed over the heads of everybody and all the tourists and stuff.
Chris Stropel, he chimed in with, he wanted to see if you remembered cruising around SF with him and KT. It's foggy.
It's
foggy?
Yeah, it was probably under the influence of something or someone, and was at the time that it involved us hitting 3 cars and a brick wall and getting pulled over by the cops and them running up to the car and throwing driver's license and insurance and everything in the window and screaming, "Have a good night," and they peeled away and went to some emergency.
It could be. We're gonna have to check in with Stropel on that. I don't know. Maybe that was his question.
Oh.
Screaming Lord Salba. Who is the girl with boobs in the indie ad? Peggy, Andrea, random girl?
I will go with C on that one. That was Stesic. Somebody that Stesic knew, and he shot that. Andrea was the boobs on the Thunder ad. Okay.
What was one of this is be racking your brain, but 80s trips that you took? Which ones or which one would you think sticks out kind of to you that's like, whew, let's talk about this one?
Well, I think it was the first time I went to the East Coast. Fausto got mad at me. I ran out the door. We had a hotel right on the beach, and I wanted to go jump in the Atlantic Ocean. So it was like 3 a.m. So I went and did that with my Levi's and my T-shirt and everything. I took my shoes off. And then I walked into an all-night diner and had grits, because I'd never had grits before. I think that was VA Beach. And then from there, we went to the contest out there at Trashmore. And then Gator got chased by the cops. And then the cops got him, and they took him away. And then I think Fausto and Dorfman went and tried to bail him out, or did bail him out, I forget. And then doing lots of drugs in the porta potty. And then it was a huge ramp that was just incredible. And there was a fence around it. And I didn't know if it was more fun watching the skating or watching Frank Hawk walk around and kick people out. And it was kind of fun watching him going around like, "You, out of here. How'd you get in here? Get out, get out." Who, me? Yeah. And I was just taking more pictures of him doing that than of the skating. And the skating was insane. Because of the ramp being the size it was and constructed the way it was, these guys were able to pushed their limits a lot more. And so, you see Cab doing like a super high mute, which isn't called a mute anymore, but it's a mute air. No offense to any mute people
right
out there. It was just wild. I mean, I was exploring different ways of shooting, fisheye, long lens. The sky was just like it is today, not a cloud in the sky, and it was just bright, and the ramp was like reflecting and filling in shadows. But I used Ektachrome for the first time, and I did not know that kind of had a blue shift to it. And of course, I had to report to ass kicking when Fausto saw, what the fuck, these photos are all blue. And I'm like, that's the film you brought back from the film store. I used it. Well, you should know, goddammit, you should look.
Damn.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
No color correcting back in those days.
Nope, it was just film. Well, I mean, there wasn't. But I mean, right now you could.
Oh, absolutely.
You could take that and make it nice and warm, like a coat of chrome, which is what I was used to shooting. But it didn't have much latitude as far as, you couldn't open it up as many stops.
Right.
Kind of open up the shadows, and the shadows are a little oily. And wow, film. I haven't thought about film in a while. That's taken me back. But it was great, exploring different lenses. I think I ended up selling a bunch of photos from there for ads, Jimmy's, NHS or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of good skate shots, a lot of excess. I couldn't put them all in the article, so I had a lot of left over, and I couldn't use them again later, so they were hot to go.
Hey.
And that was back when you sold 3 or 4 ad photos and you made a whopping like $200-300.
$100 each if you're lucky.
In the early mid 80s, so that was a lot of money back then.
Sure.
Now it's nothing. It's not even groceries.
Right. A lot of people know, or a lot of people might not know, but you did Tommy's graphic for his board. You did Mickey Alba's graphic for his skateboard. I was talking to John Gibson, and he said before Pusshead, you were working on a graphic that was kick-ass for his deck, but it was a little controversial with Newton, so it didn't fly maybe.
Is that why?
There might have been some boobs.
There was... The boobs did it?
That's what I hear.
Man, I spent a lot of time on those boobs. Many hours getting those things just right. Wait, I think they mentioned something about doing a T-shirt or something of that. I gotta double check.
What was it? It was like what was the actual drawing? It was like an Indian woman with a skull or something?
Well, if you kind of think in terms of like those old Mexican calendars where you had like the Aztec or Mayan or I forget which tribe, the warrior with the holding the dead princess kind of thing. So it was a little bit homage to that. So it was kind of like a warrior. He might have been holding one of those war clubs with obsidian on it. I can't remember. I think for a head he had like a longhorn skull. And kneeling before him was this woman with very nice breasts. I don't think they would be like that if it was real. I don't think they had any support back then.
Right.
But anyway, back to the boobs. I guess they were controversial back then. Well, they wouldn't be controversial now, probably.
You never know. A lot of stuff is controversial now.
Well, yeah, that's right. So.
I'm curious because Thrasher is doing deathmatch next week or in 2 weeks. They're going down to Palm Desert, like outside where Coachella and that area is. They're doing this thing with suicidal tendencies. So they got kind of like that element, but they're paying homage to the Great Desert Ramp battle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they were looking for video to try to project on it, and there's, they're going to have some photos there and this and that, but you were part of this. I think am I right by saying Stesic, Fausto, and probably, I don't know who else, kind of was coming together with the Joe's Ramp Jam and the Midwest Melee and all those contests in that era was kind of like building the community in skateboarding.
Bringing skateboarding to the people.
Okay.
Is what basically that was. One day I was watching some surf contest. I forget where. And I was asking them, how does this work? Well, they have a certain amount of time and they got to catch a certain amount of waves and do that. I go, well, fuck, we should just do skate contests like that. And I proposed that to Fausto, and I go, let's just kind of have whatever number of people who enter, the pros enter, divide that up into a certain amount, and then call those heats, and then basically have them skate for like 20 minutes, but something, or whatever amount of time. And then you start off by, each person in that heat takes one run basically to introduce them as being, okay, this is the first guy in the heat. And after you get through all of the guys in that particular heat, then it just becomes a session of just those guys for a short period of time.
Right.
And then Faust goes, oh, that's a great idea. We'll call it a jam. Ramp jam. And then he was walking around the fucking offices all day long. Ramp jam, ramp jam, ramp jam. He'd walk right up to my ear. Ramp jam, ramp jam, ramp jam. Like, what the fuck? He goes, I'm trying it out. Trying it out, see if it sucks. Well, I'm thinking it sucks now that you're doing that in my ear. So basically that was how the jam was set up to be done.
Okay.
And the first one that was done was at Joe's. And that was where debuted that concept.
Joe Lopes. What can you say about Joe? Like, some people may not have ever got to meet him. He was gone pretty early.
Yeah, he was a fire that burned really bright. He was always energetic and just like, it was kind of funny. We'd be up there, these guys are skating the session on his ramp, and then if we wanted to do a bong load, we just kind of went over to the side and just kind of crawled through the window into his bedroom, which is right there off the rollout deck, and did a couple bong loads, came back out, smoke was billowing out, out of the window. He just had a sense of community, the locals that were there. I mean, that's where I met Fedge. And what was that little
Fabriger?
He was there once in a while. But there was a handful of crew that were there that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
Okay.
That were just, that's where I saw them at. And then he ended up becoming, traveling with us on the world stage. I'm like going, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Here, like, oh, these are just some guys who skate here. And like, suddenly they're getting their own model. And now they're going pro. I'm like going, wow, it's weird how that works. You can just stumble across these guys, go, hey, this guy's pretty, oh, he's pro. I guess he was good.
Yeah.
What do I know? I just like 2 or 3 things, and these guys did the other stuff, and I couldn't remember the name of all the tricks and stuff they did. I remember when Fat Carlos from Fogtown had me go over and paint Joe's ramp with the skull and cross trucks on the ramp. So I painted that. He had me paint that, and then he made me take a photo. If you look in the old Thrashers, you'll see group photo of everybody that was there that day after I finished painting it, and then they ended up putting it on the ramp. My memory's foggy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm getting old.
A lot of bong rips.
Yeah, a lot of blows to the head.
Oh, man. So getting back to those contests, though, how are they judged? Was there just one judge, or did they have a group of judges?
No, there was a group of judges, and basically it was how well did this guy skate during this focused period of time.
So not overall best trick or anything. It was overall impression.
It was basically who skated the best in during that session. Basically, there were timed sessions.
Okay.
And then, they got rated, who skated the best, and then just ranked them top to bottom. And then whatever the a certain amount of the placings for each group went into a final heat.
Okay.
I can't even say if memory serves me because it's not serving me shit.
Right.
But the way things were done back then, it would have been like, a handful of guys who opinions and insights and knowledge of skateboarding was fairly, was very thorough. It was also part of the crowd's response to everything,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody might have done some insane trick, but if a guy went and just sessioned and just almost bailed every time and just kept going and just blew minds, he might win.
Right.
Because he was just couldn't fall off. Like a Dwayne Peters kind of thing where he goes up and does a lip trick and a wheel flies off and he still goes up and does something else on the next wall. I've seen it.
Uh-huh.
I've seen him hang up and then pull it off. That way it levels the playing field with the super high tech guys or the guy like Tony Hawk, or and back then it was like Neil Blender, Lance Mountain, and Grosso and Hutson, and they were just coming into their own. And so you had a little Roscop, I think he was there, and he was just getting started, making fun of him a lot because he was from
Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio. Called him the farmer. And then Neck. Just call him Neck. And then I remember when we were in Europe, and he and I went out to dinner, and he got spaghetti, and as soon as it came, we were in Venice. I'm like, oh, this pasta's got to be cool. Fork and knife. He just chopped the shit out of that. I go, what the fuck are you doing? Did anybody see that guy? We're in Italy, dude. You don't go do that. You're going to get us killed. What? Loved Roscoe. So he was funny.
Huh. What was the Great Desert Ramp Battle? Talk about that. Were you down at that?
Yeah. I actually I drew the T-shirt for that.
Oh.
I illustrated the T-shirt that we did for that. Palmdale. Yeah. And it was raining.
Oh.
I remember it rained for it was raining, and the guys went there and they were playing soccer on the ramp because it was wet. so they couldn't skate, so they played soccer. And then and then it just became overcast. It didn't rain anymore, so they toweled it down. I think it was Keith Stevenson's ramp.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, or he had a huge involvement in it.
Okay.
So it was either his ramp or he had a huge involvement with it. I think he got a lumber company to sponsor all the wood, and they just painted their logo on the ramp, and it got like filmed on cable or something, like, you know. And I remember going with Fausto to an audio store and tried to find the biggest blast box that we could find, that we could plug a microphone into.
Yeah.
To try and announce, and annoyed the shit out of everybody in the, you know, in the music store. Faust was like, test, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, Mofo, can you hear me? Like, yes. Fuck, dude. We'll take this one. You know, it's like, what the fuck? Oh, man. And yeah, I remember also the day of the contest, and I had one of those paddle ball things, you know, the little, where the ball on the little elastic band, you go, paka, 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 paka.
Yep.
So I was trying to, I remember when I was a kid, I could never get it to work. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to, all this downtime I have in airports and shit, I'm just going to learn how to do this. So we're all getting ready to like take off, and, you know, there's a Soy and Cab, you know, and those guys are like, I don't know, 16, 17 years old at the time. And I'm sitting on the bed, and we're like, back. Fausto walks over, yanks it out of my hand, smacks me across the face with it, breaks it. I lose it. I tackle him into the closet.
Oh,
and had the coat rack, both arms on the coat rack, and he and was just pressing him against his neck, against the shelf in there, and then he blacked out.
Whoa.
I thought I killed him. And fucking Hutson and Cab are looking at me like, what the hell just happened? I go, I don't know. And like Fausto's like, you know, I'm like lowering him down to the ground, make sure his head doesn't like smack the ground. And then he just like, what happened? I go, I don't know. You fell.
Damn.
I don't know. I mean, one thing is like, you walked by, you fell, I got up, broke my paddle, and then you woke up.
Huh.
It was fine. And then, you know, we went to the ramp, and it was wet, and then Dwayne, he was skating there, and I remember he slid, and a big sliver just shot, you know, went up his thigh, so he was out of commission. So he was walking around with a cane.
Fuck.
And Lance, I remember Lance was doing a channel air, like a backside air, like an indie air to hand plant over the channel. I'm trying to visualize it. And I got, if you look in the
like an eggplant?
Fuck, I don't know the names of all this shit. I might have had eggs for breakfast that day, and I know I stepped on more than a few plants.
Right. That was Midwest Melee. It might have been the cover, maybe a channel plant.
No. If you look at the Great Desert Ramp Battle.
Okay.
I think it's a centerfold that I shot of that.
Okay.
I've always wanted to get a print of that.
Huh.
But yeah, there's that. I mean, I'm like, whoa, and it's like that. I mean, his fingers maybe 2 inches away from landing.
Sick. Lance is one of the best.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, I got a photo that came out.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. Like before the instant satisfaction when you're just shooting film and stuff, especially at an event, what's the percentage of photos that you're like, I feel like you kind of underplay, like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing this and doing that. But you got some epic photos, so you kind of had to know a little bit what you're doing. But what's the percentage of a 36 frame roll of film? How many are usable, you think?
Well, I really didn't know what the fuck I was doing half the time, and because a lot of it is just dial spinning. I mean, I kind of knew how to get in the zone, but I didn't know. But you know, when I introduce a flash and it's on camera, and the guy's like a foot away from you, and it's variable power, and it's black and white film, and it's like I could overexpose this really easily or not, and so like I would just bracket like crazy. Sometimes the really good shot was the one that was way overexposed on that scale of doing it. I can get into the zone a lot quicker now, you know, with digital. I'm like going, okay, blow my mind. Sometimes I go, I'll set it to this, this, and this, and then go, poof, holy shit, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
You know, so after a while, you kind of like look at the light and go like, okay, well, I'm going to start here. It's pretty bright out, so using film, I would prorate. I mean, if it was bright out, I would use like 50 ASA. I ended up using a lot of Velvia as I kind of started getting into the groove and like going, hey, I think I got this sort of figured out. Which basically means like if my sweet spot in the zone was, you know, like let's say it's 10 inches, I narrowed it down to about 4. So I would still get a lot of overexposed and fucked up ones and underexposed ones, but I would yield a little bit more images as time went on. And, you know, when the magazine was using color on the, you know, using more color photos, then our budget for color film boosted up. Then I was like getting it bulk, you know, and then hand rolling some of the stuff.
Right.
But I would prorate and shoot in bright light condition, but with a really low ASA, and prorate 50 ASA to about 30, 32. I forget what I was doing. But it was something like that. Okay. And so I would super underexpose it and introduce flash into it. And by underexposing it, you know, I did use a smaller aperture and then pumped up the flash a little bit. And this was all on-camera flash because I didn't know any different. Then after actually at Joe Lopes' wedding, I blew out both the cartilage in both knees doing the limbo.
No way. I never heard this one.
Yeah. It was doing they had the limbo thing, and I got down way low, and I'm fucking just tanked. I'm like, yeah, I can limbo, and I got way down. I can go way down, and so I got down so low, and then I just like collapsed, and like my shoulder blades hit the ground, and I just kind of bounced myself back up, and just felt both knees go ping ping. And I went, but I got underneath. And then I partied the rest of the night, and I think I drove Blackheart's car back for him because he was too drunk. to notice that I was drunker than him.
Ah.
But he had a Mustang. I remember driving that back.
Oh, shit.
And then we went to, I think it was Joe Lopes' wife's parents' house afterwards. And then everybody had a hot tub, and they had a hot tub party, and then I just jumped in naked. I remember that. But the next day it was like hell trying to walk and stuff. So anyway, fast forward, I get both knees operated on at the same time. And then there was a contest, I think it was downtown San Jose, in an arena or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to do photos, but this was like on a mini ramp, and I think it was a weird shape. So it had a spine. It might have been like a Y shape. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. I remember
that.
Yeah, it was a Y. Yeah.
And so I got, I think it was Mark Badeo and somebody else. It might have been Fred. I haven't thought of that guy in a while. Hope he's doing good.
Is that Fred Smith?
No. Fred Conrad, I think it was.
Okay.
And Mark Madeo, who incidentally is the guy landing on the crowd on top of the people's heads in the minor threat photo that I have where, you know, Ian is off on the left-hand border, and then you see the whole crowd, and you see this guy just landing on his back. That's Mark Madeo before I even knew him.
Ah.
And I didn't even know that was him up until about a year or two ago.
No way.
He goes, "That's me." I'm like, holy shit, that is you.
Damn. Yeah, where's that?
That was at the On Broadway. Upstairs.
Mm.
So anyway, I had getting back to the camera and flash and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I can't walk. I'm on crutches. I can't. How am I going to do this? So I don't know. I'm in the Adolf Gasser photo place and talking to these guys, like going, I got this problem. How should I do this? He goes, well, you know, the basketball photographers and all that stuff, what they do is they set up some big Normans up in, you know, they set them up, you know, around the arena, aimed down, and then and then they have a radio slave. And so wherever they're at, they shoot, and it triggers these lights, and basically, you know, it's off-camera flash.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I rented a super long lens, rolled a couple big fat joints, and made sure I had plenty of whiskey in the camera bag. I only needed one lens, so I had plenty of room. And then I had like Fred and Madeo go over and put these Normans on the ramp pointed at certain areas, and then hooked them up radio slave. So I just sat in the, you know, in the arena seats, aimed the camera, and then whenever somebody went past my little light trap, poof, took a shot.
Nice, yeah.
I'm like, well, that works. And then I'm like going, well, and then, so I'm putting the article together, and then for photo credit, I'm like going, well, I took the photos, but these guys, it was kind of a team effort. And I go, oh, darkroom rangers. So photos by darkroom rangers. And the darkroom rangers were myself, Madeo, and Fred. I did something similar but I had Chris Ortiz helping me, and I wasn't sure if somebody else helped me, but it was like a team effort to do something else of setting up some lights and stuff. And I couldn't call that Darkroom Rangers, so I called that the Devil's Brigade.
Damn.
And so photos by the Devil's Brigade or the Darkroom Rangers. And the Devil's Brigade meant certain people, and Darkroom Rangers meant certain people. So, because I couldn't take credit because I didn't do everything.
Right.
You know, I do now, but you know, back then I got to yell at people and tell them what to do, and got paid for it.
Yeah,
and they got paid for me yelling at them and telling them what to do.
Yeah, so there was a dark room downstairs in the back. It was an actual dark room. You guys were developing.
Oh yeah, it had a light trap and all that. I used to, Madeo, man. I used to lay down in the on the floor, hung over, because the tiles were nice and cool. So I'd go in there and sleep for about an hour, you know, underneath the shelves. And I hear Fausto coming, "Where's Mofo?" I get up, I'm like, come out, and I'm going, "Hey, man, that's working." It's working. "What are you doing down here?" What do you need? I was just putting some stuff away. Checking supplies, boss.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, the door would be closed and the light trap into that area, and Madeo would be in there, you know, focusing and toiling away and making black and white prints and shit, and then I got a pack of firecrackers and lined them up at the bottom of the door, and then got a lighter and just went along with them. And as they were getting lit, I would just flick them into the light trap underneath the door, like click, 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 bang, whoa, bang, oh, boom, bang, bang, oh, fuck, Mofo, motherfucker. Yeah, just checking. I guess you're in there. I didn't know you were in. There was anybody in there.
Yeah.
And then the days, the intercom. Madeo, come up here. Come up to my desk. Okay, hang on. I'll be right there. Okay. What do you need? Here's $7. Skate to the liquor store and get me a pint of Jack Daniels. What? Go yourself. Well, I would, but then I'd have to fire you. We don't want that. And I got to finish this other thing up, and right after that, I want to, you know, this. Every day, I'd figure out a different way to make him go do that. And he came back, he goes, "Man," he goes, "if I'm not doing that again," there was like these big black guys hanging out outside there, and they were going to kick my ass. And I'm like, well, looks like you got away.
You did it, yeah. What was that neighborhood like back then? Was it rougher for sure, right?
Oh, it was rough and tumble.
Was the fence always there, like the parking lot and all that? Was it always
the parking lot was about half of what it was, and it wasn't paved. It was
like dirt
and gravel, and whoa, what was it? My sunglasses hitting the pop filter. Oh yeah, it was. I'd come out, like, be the last one to leave for the day, and come out, and I'd see these legs sticking out of my car door open, and legs sticking out like somebody going and rifling through.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? I'd walk over there and go, "Hey, asshole." "Oh man, I was walking by and I saw somebody in here, so I was just checking to make sure everything was okay."
God damn it.
Yeah, right. Get the fuck out of here.
What's like one of the raddest or gnarliest things you've seen Blackheart do in those days?
Actually, the gnarliest thing I remember about Blackheart is when we were building a skate park out by Oak Ridge. It never got completed. They went bankrupt before, we got it finished. But there was this really long, like, half pipe, or like a U-shaped pipe with lots of vertical that went down, and it was really long, and then it ended in this giant bowl. So think like the Winchester keyhole, but maybe about half again bigger. And Blackheart was there on a motorcycle, on a dirt bike, and he was riding down the length of the half pipe, just going up the walls. And then he went down into the bowl and carved the bowl and edged.
On the bike?
On the bike.
Damn.
His wheels were right along the edge. He went up and just went, I'm like, holy shit. And I mean, was the most amazing thing. I mean, it was just like, and because I was standing down the bottom, he rode right past me.
Right.
And he did that, and then no biggie, and and he skated off, and he was just going through the other stuff. I remember one guy that we had that was there helping, and I forget where he came from. He was a friend of a friend who ended up coming out to work there, and we picked on him a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. We could, run, Kelly, run! Oh, shit! And he'd go running, and so we're, digging all these things out, so there were, like, dirt clods everywhere. So we were, like, throwing dirt clods, and, like, he's, like, running back and forth, like this little, like, a shooting gallery duck at a carnival or something.
Oh,
and there's, like, dirt clods coming at, like, every possible way that he could run. There were, like, already projectiles in the air coming at him. And yeah, good times.
Did you go to that pipe? Was it Bombora?
Yeah, I saw. I think that was the very first time I saw Blackheart skate in Bombora, and it was funny because same day, that was the first time I ever saw John Hudson.
Oh.
And he was riding in the pipe.
Oh.
I mean, John Hudson, the downhill racing guy.
Yeah.
The hut tuck guy. Yeah, so we went in there. I was, at that time, a couple guys I went to high school with, David Gula and John McDowell, I think was the other guy's name. Hardcore skaters. Gula was actually in Skateboarder magazine, like either on the 50 Hot Kids or the second volume, part 2, whatever, the extra Hot Kids. He did gorilla gripping. So he skated barefoot and jumped over things, grabbing the board with his toes.
Oh.
And they called him Stone Toes. And he was gnarly.
Huh.
But anyway, he would drove us out there, and we cleaned it up and got it all together, and then Blackheart and Weston, I think probably would have been Weston and Fly. They usually hung together. They showed up, so it was like time to sit down and watch. And the thing with that pipe is it had seams. Well,
there leaks.
Well, it leaked too, and so we had to kind of go in there and dam it up and dry it up. But as the pipe went in, they were like sections, I guess. And between each section was a seam, and like, let's say the sections might have been maybe 2 feet or give or take a foot. Well, 2 to 3 foot wide, and then be a seam. And sometimes they didn't line up, so you could only do certain seams.
I got you.
And if you came down along the bottom and you were half on one seam, half on another, you would dead stop because cement kind of splooged out. But you know, these guys were pipe masters, and you know, basically I was still learning how to fakie. I didn't think I ever got to the point of gyrating in there before it got filled in. But you know, sitting back and seeing those guys, they would gyrate, and then when they got up high, they would carve and go over to another good seam. So they would like skip bad seams.
Yeah, okay.
It was something like that.
Glory hole's kind of like that too.
And then not far away from there was Los Altos Pool.
Oh yeah, that was a huge staple in that era, right?
Oh yeah,
a lot of people merged and met each other at that pool.
Yeah, that's where I actually learned how to skate a pool. I mean, I went from going and up the wall and jumping off and chickening out to, you know, carving, carve grinding, and then coming back and then doing back and forth little wheelers, and that was my run. I'm done. I'm happy. I don't need to do anything else. You know.
Who killed that pool the hardest? Like
Blackheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he rolling in on that pool?
I don't remember. But one of the I took a photo of him at that pool pre-Indy. Might have even been pre-tunnel, I think.
Wow.
I'm not sure. But he would just destroy that place. You know, that was another like, Blackheart's here, time to sit down.
Yeah.
Watch. Because I'm never going to get a ride anyway, so I'll just become frustrated trying to get a ride, but he's going to snake me anyway, so I'm just going to sit down.
Yeah, when I found out about Bombora, I was so hyped, like that we had a full pipe in our area. That it didn't last too long, though, huh? Did they fill it because people were skating it and they were sick of that, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I just know that
I've gone there.
No more rides out to Bombora.
We've talked about going down there and digging it out. It's like, yeah, right. There's neighbors and everything.
Yeah, they would spot you. Yeah, it was kind of cool going to Los Altos Pool and seeing the people there. I think some of the people that I met there, I still know to this day.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
You know, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I think that skaters are just like, it's skateboarding, and the memories we have, you can't negate. Like, we'll always have those. So it's like, fuck cab. Like, your ramp, like Christian, the trips, like whatever it is, you're going to always remember that when you see these guys and be able to have those feelings presently. Like, fuck, in the 80s, we had these feelings, and now we're reliving them, and some of those feelings are coming up again. I mean, nobody can take that away. And I don't know, being like the pioneers of creating a lot of the stuff that's still going on and the ethos and everything that, you know, comes along with like being a gnarly dude or all that shit. It's just cool that like here we are still, and it's still going strong. I mean, skateboarding is fucking huge, as we know now, but
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's you mentioned the downhill guy,
Hudson.
Talk about it a little bit, because Monterey has the Laguna Seca or whatever, and that was a big deal, right?
Oh yeah. I was one of the first things that I ended up covering in Thrasher after they told me to write. After Novak said, "Yeah, man, you're going to write now." Really? I don't know how. He goes, "Just read this book. I'm going to give you this book. And when you're done reading this book, you'll know how to write." Really? What book? It's called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Huh.
I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, I would go to these events and then come home, take acid, and try to write. And until they told me, no, don't do the acid part.
Yeah.
Shrooms? No. But Laguna Seca was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down. We went down there in Fausto's white Volvo. And it was me, Stesic, Swenson, Andy Croft, KT, and I think if you look at the article, you see a photo of us all standing around Fausto's Volvo. And I'm wearing like some mirrored cop glasses and leather vest. Well, leather jacket with the sleeves ripped off. And, you know, a biker bandana and taking notes.
Huh.
I'm a writer now. I guess I better take notes. Fausto drank another beer at 9:30 a.m. And I remember that there was some. So anyway, yeah, those guys were doing the downhill at Laguna Seca, and we'd be kind of standing there at the bottom turn or whatever. I never knew how far they went because I never went up to the top and I never went up to the bottom. I just stayed in one spot and just kind of sat there in the dirt, you know. And then I would see Hudson go screaming by, like way in the lead of a lot of people, and doing his hut tuck, which basically involved his, you know, him down, bent down, leaning forward, you know, over the front trucks, kind of leaning forward with his arms straight back behind him. I'm like, oh, dude, I mean, you just lean forward a little bit more, you just teeth right into the asphalt. But no, I mean, it was so precarious, and he just had it dialed just right. I mean, he wasn't like some big fat guy or whatever. What would, you know, he kind of a not very tall either. But somehow he had it dialed where he would just sail down, you know. And, you know, some guys, sometimes that they would get like fairings, they would have duck butts. They'd have weird helmets. Hudson just had his little flyaway and spandex or whatever, and just got into his tuck and kicked ass.
Sick, dude.
I remember there was some guys from some BMX magazine or something, and I hated BMX stuff because they fucking start coming into skate parks and you go up and do something, and then you turn around, whoa, there's a bike.
Yeah.
You don't hear them coming up on you, the rubber tire, and then they're just, suddenly they're there. And so I just really didn't like that. So there's these BMX guys, or magazine, and they had this bike rigged up a certain way where they had a camera down off of one of the, rigged up onto the bike somehow down road level. And Stesic is going like, that's like a $700 lens on that camera there. Really? Yeah, you should get it. Okay. So these guys are talking, they're not paying attention. I'm down there unscrewing this lens, and they turn around and look at me, and I just kind of dunk my hand down towards the ground and hit the ground, and the lens lands in my hand. I'm going, holy shit, I just saved your lens. Here, let me put it back on there for you. I thought it looked kind of loose, and then I poked it and it fell right off, and they're going, dude, really? Yeah, you almost lost your lens there.
So good.
Stesic's like going, close.
You got lucky.
Yeah, close. I'm like, fuck. But, working with those guys, I learned to think fast. Think on your feet.
You gotta have, who are some of the early guys that bonded, that had Thrasher's back, skater-wise? Obviously, Cab has the most covers of all time, and he was San Jose, which is pretty local. But who are some of the guys maybe that you wouldn't expect that, was instantly down with you guys, and maybe you'd go visit them, or they'd come out to the city and shoot photos with and stuff?
Well, Rodney.
Oh. Rodney Mullen.
Yeah, Fausto would get Rodney out there and go, here, take him on, do photos.
He's got one of the first ollies ever on the cover, right? That in San Francisco.
Yeah, that was one of those times.
Okay.
Go take photos of Rodney. Okay. And, I can do photos. I'll figure it out.
Huh.
I remember that was with an A1 with a Vivitar 20 millimeter lens that I shot that laying down on the ground outside the, what was that, what's that opera house center down there on Van Ness? Yeah.
Is that where that photo is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I took him down to Powell Street and Powell Market, where the trolley kind of turns around and stuff. And he did some freestyle there, and then I had him do something in front of Macy's, the awning in front of Macy's, and people walking by, and he's just doing some weird shit. It's just like, what the yeah, Rodney just skating.
Yeah.
He's just skating. And then I remember taking him to Pier 39, and there was this whole big the inside Pier 39, I just remember these walkways that were up high, on the second level or whatever, and then a big courtyard, and then I go, Rodney, just do some shit right here in the middle. And then I walked up onto the top, and by the time I got up there, he was like buzzing away, and the whole walkway was like lined with people like looking at him like, I mean, nobody'd seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
You know? And then I kept making him change his shirts. I go, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go to Golden Gate Park. Put on a different shirt. So I went to Golden Gate Park, and then he did some stuff there, and I took some pictures of him in the background. I think I interviewed him that time.
Okay.
And then we went to out by Union, out in the what do they call that? What do they call that area out there?
Union Square?
No, not there. Out the street that you take out, and the road that ends up taking you across Golden Gate Bridge.
Lombard, Van Ness.
Oh yeah. Okay, so Lombard, and there's a little area out there.
That's by Fort Mason.
They used to call Four Corners and all that stuff for all that.
Okay, like Chrissy Field.
Yeah, but
Inmore
towards the that big hill. There's an old bar, tavern, restaurant, whatever, and there was a motorcycle cop parked right there, looking away from us across the street, and I go, Rodney, do one of those things where you stand up and then you turn and you do your pinkies up or whatever, you know. So he kicks up the board onto the tail, and he's standing on the trucks, and he's doing some trick there with right behind him is a motorcycle cop.
Right.
You know, and then you can see the intersection, actually, I think, where Joe DiMaggio used to live.
Oh, okay.
What's that section called?
The Marina.
Yeah, the Marina District. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So, but towards the hill a little bit, and there's that one street that has all that shopping center.
But
Not
the Palace
Lombard,
of
but
Fine Arts is over there and stuff.
Yeah, that's further
down. Yeah.
Further down.
Okay,
yeah.
got you. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so we went out there, and he performed behind a cop's back.
Oh, okay. Sick.
And then after that, then I'm like going, okay, we're done. And we go to North Beach, and I'd get a couple bottles of wine, some whiskey, a beer, and he'd drink some soda, and then we'd talk about everything, philosophy, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Was he always on it like that? He's pretty smart.
He was really articulate for a kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. I mean, I learned a lot from the guy.
Yeah, he has those TED Talks where he explained skateboarding to people that wouldn't know about skateboarding. It's like to your mom or something. He's actually explaining it, and you're like, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time.
Yeah, he puts it in such an eloquent way now. But back then, he didn't talk like he does now.
Oh, okay.
So he was just a little kid.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's very funny.
How did Fausto know him?
Well, he just knew that the guy had a lot of talent, and he wanted him to be in the magazine, so he got a hold of him.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually designed a truck.
Oh.
A freestyle truck.
Yep. Indy, the narrow ones, right?
Yeah.
I remember.
That had these little shoulder type thing. Whoops.
For your feet?
Yeah, so little areas on there where he could kind of get a little toe hold or whatever.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
I remember Faust was like, photograph these things and make them look awesome. You mean you don't want them blue?
Yeah.
I could use Ektachrome on that shit. fucking old guy. I used to have several nicknames for him, but one was Nit, because he was a nitpick. Nit, pick. Hey, Nit. And so in the story, it was like, yeah, so me and Nit went, so if you read some of those old stories, it's me and Nitpick and Neck. That means we were traveling with Roscop.
With Roscop?
Yeah.
Yes. Somebody was telling me, I wrote it down here, it's for the Laguna, it's probably that same one, because he said, you all piled into a Volvo station wagon and picked up this guy, Matt Bilak, because he was skating home down the highway and told him that he should be riding indies. And he has ever since rode indies since that day. I guess a friend of mine knows this guy. And you guys were heading back and he was skating down the highway like Pierre would do or something. And you guys gave him a ride and you're like, you got to be riding. I could hear if I was put indies on that thing.
Get that guy some fucking indies. Here.
Yeah.
Don't let him take those trucks off. You take them off. Mofo, useless. You're not doing nothing. Here. And after that, roll some more joints.
Yeah. Oh, man. Damn. The days, right? Well, you said you would be down to...
Wait, we haven't had our morning joint yet.
Oh, okay.
No, with Fausto, there's the morning joint. There's the smoke the rest of the morning joint after the first break.
Mm-hmm.
There's the after lunch joint. And then there's smoke the rest of the after lunch joint at the afternoon break.
Right. Yeah, I guess it would, like, how much was what you were doing inspired by getting a little high and cutting the edge off, right? Like smoking and drinking was super in.
I thought I was just being a writer.
Oh. That's what Hunter S. Thompson did.
He said to read this book. So, like, I was supposed to drink a lot, supposed to do a lot of drugs, supposed to smoke a lot of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I remember I stole some big old ashtrays out when I was in Europe, like huge, like 10 inches across. And then I would have that on my desk, on my drawing table. This is when we used to make the magazine before computers, and did the waxing and layouts and overlays and all that shit. And that thing used to be a mountain of cigarette butts in there. So we smoked cigarettes in our offices and all that shit, and smoked other things and drank a lot of things. Dinosaur fuel.
Yeah.
But that ashtray would just be piled, and then deadline would come along, and we'd have to pull like 2 or 3 all-nighters, me and KT. So we'd get a giant bag of blow and a bunch of whiskey and vodka and stuff, and just sit there and work all night through, and then I'd be digging through this ashtray, like unfolding cigarettes, and like, oh, this one's almost half an inch left of cigarette left above the filter. So, and then we'd be like, let's just get a whole bunch of these tobacco roaches and just roll one. Yeah. So, yeah, those were days.
Yeah. Dude, so much to think about. Did you have much interaction with Jay Adams?
Yes. He used to call me in the middle of the night all the time. What's up, dude? It's the middle of the day here in Hawaii.
Oh.
Fucker, it's like 3 a.m. Why are you waking me up? But yeah, he and I, on that trip to Japan, he and I ended up being roommates in the hotel.
How was that?
Oh, it was it was great because basically I'd be out all night, come in, and he would be getting out of the shower, getting ready to leave for the day, and I just plop down into the bed. I just could not get in sequence. The jet lag had me bad.
Okay.
And, well, yeah, it was the jet lag. And then there was the fight with the Australian guy in the bar. And then there was putting the drunk girl in the taxi cab in the Roppongi district, who ended up melting. And I finally got her in the cab, and her boyfriend handed me like $500. Like, thank you. I'm like, okay. All right. It's interesting. But yeah, he and I would just pass each other in the, in the doorway.
Okay.
To the hotel room, and then I drank all of the stuff out of the little mini fridge. Didn't know we were getting charged for it, so that was like a few $100. So, which I didn't have. So I ended up selling my Levi's, and I had enough money not only to pay for the tab for the room, but I had enough money left over, and I bought myself a Discman.
Ah, the old Discman.
Yeah, that had no shock ability, so you bumped it and it just skipped. And I only had one disc, and on the airplane ride back, it was one of those weird planes that has the big bulge on the roof.
Yeah. DC-10 maybe?
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so like you had to go upstairs to these other seats, and I got stuck up there, and I had no idea where everybody else was. So I was up there by myself with one CD, only one pair of pants.
Fuck.
And my new Discman, it was...
What was the disc you had in there? Dead Kennedys?
No, I think it was the Ministry.
Oh, Ministry, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I got introduced to a lot of Ministry, one album.
On loop.
Yeah, over and over and over. I tried to sleep and stuff. But yeah, that was strange. And I couldn't find Jay on there, on the plane. He was somewhere.
Yeah.
He and I would always talk on the phone. He would always give me a call. Which leads me to a photograph.
Ah, okay. Here we go.
Which is one of my favorite photographs that I took, and it's Jay Adams doing a backside slash on the coping on Cab's ramp, on his backyard ramp at his mom's house. I like it because, to me, it tells a lot. On the very right-hand side of the frame, you can see barely, but Billy Ruff is there.
Is that Billy on the roof?
No.
Oh, okay.
Billy is on the deck right next to me, and he kind of is just creeping in, so you just see like a shoe and a part of his board.
Yeah.
On the roof is Hutson.
Oh, that's Christian.
About to do a bomb drop onto Cab's ramp.
Yeah.
And on the opposite deck, standing there, is Cab. And after I took the shot of Jay doing that slash, I ran down, climbed down off the ramp, ran around underneath where Hutson was, and it was funny because it became overcast right around that time. So I had to change all the lighting, all my settings and stuff, because the shot of Jay was when the sun peeked out.
Right.
And then I run down there and it's completely overcast and there's no sunlight at all. And so I'm down below and Hossoi's like looks like a cat, like looking and then calculating, and it's going to make this jump to go from one place to another. And so there's Hossoi like kind of like figuring it out, what he was going to do. He's never did it before. So he just figured he was just going to jump out, put his foot on the front towards the nose of the board, and then just kind of drop down on the ramp. So I go down there and I got him midway jumping across, doing that. And that was like, wow, this is incredible. This has never been done before. And I think that was before the ramp battle. Because I know I took a photo of him doing a bomb drop at the ramp battle, but I knew what he was going to do.
Right.
Because I had already seen him do this. The significance of why Jay Adams, Billy Ruff, Christian Hosoi, and Caballero are all together is that was the very first skate rock weekend.
Oh.
And so basically, a whole bunch of guys stayed at our place and slept on the floor, whatever. We lived up on top of Potrero Hill at Swenson's apartment. And so in the morning, we drove down there to Cabs and did a shoot there. Then we went to San Jose State and shot on the bricks that were there before they put the other bricks on there to stop people from skating. And then that first evening, I think it was a Friday, was a show at Tool and Die, which was basically down in this basement. So you'd go into like this, metal shop or whatever.
Right.
And then there was this door that opened out of the floor, and then you kind of climb down these steps down in, and there's dirt walls or whatever, and a big post and stuff, but they would have punk shows down there. So we had the first skate rock show was there. It was like Los Olvidados, Scoundrels, JFA, maybe I think the Faction, maybe. And then the next night at the On Broadway was the Trunk Engines. Los Olvidados was at Tulane. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yeah.
And then Drunk Engines, -1, free beer, Black Athletes, I think maybe the Big Boys. I got to look at the flyer again. I'm just shooting.
Yeah.
Making shit up as I go along here.
But that's all on one weekend? Like let's
yeah, we
say
had two shows.
Wow.
First night at the Tool and Die, and the second night at the On Broadway. Now, I created the Drunk Engines because, let me rewind further back here. I'd been receiving a whole bunch of cassettes and
for the compilations
and stuff. Cassettes of skaters who had bands, and they were sending me music, and I was like listening to it and like, oh man, this stuff's pretty good. I had like Borscht and Die Kreutzen and Necros and JFA and Big Boys. They sent me an album. I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. And So I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm going, well, Cab's got his band started, and there's these other bands, and these guys, Los Olvidados, which is basically the original Drunk Injuns, except with me singing. And so I talked to those guys. I go, well, you guys want to be on this compilation? Like, how about if we do some of our old songs and we'll put it on there too? And you know, I think I might have been talking to Mike Fox or whatever. He goes, what, you can call it like Los Olvidados 2? I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I mean, technically would be 1, but... And then I was taking a night class because I had to take Photo 101 so I could remember how to develop film and stuff. So I went to City College, and in order to do that, I had to take an art class. So in that art class that I ended up having to take, they were making masks. And so, you know, I made this mask of Omi, the old tattoo face guy. If you look up Omi, I think it's Omi, O-M-I. And so basically I cast my whole face, took it off, and then I just painted it to be like this guy. I still have that mask somewhere. I'll take a photo of it and send it to you.
Yeah, sick.
I go, I'll make masks, skull mask, and then Swenson at the time had become fond of calling me a drunk Indian. And he had just gone through an evening of like overdoing that with me at Earl's nightclub, where we would go and drink pitchers upon pitchers upon pitchers of margaritas, and then watch the girls dance. It was a discotheque, but new wave punk rock stuff. They play with punk stuff, and but anyway, it was a whole night of him like, you fucking drunk Indian, you fucking drunk Indian. I'm like, And so I go, I know, we'll call ourselves Drunk Injuns. And we'll just play, and then we'll go into the studio and record, and then we'll be viable, and then we'll put us on here too. Oh, okay. So that's what we did.
Huh.
I mean, and doing this without Fausto and Eric knowing. Totally under their noses.
Yeah.
Except they had hints when they would find, like, the originals for flyers that I would leave in the photocopy machine. I would go over and do photocopies and take them all so nobody would see them, but then forget the original. And yeah, so they go, this fucking you, what are you doing? Friend asked me to, I only made 20. That's coming out of your paycheck. Fuck. I only get $150 a week. I mean, dude. So, anyway, I mean, they did not know. So I had the mask so they wouldn't know it was me up on stage.
Right.
And they didn't want me to do a band. They wanted me to stop doing Los Olvidados to work at Thrasher. They go, make a choice. Either work at the magazine or do the band. You can't do both. Because you're going to be wanting to do the band and, you know, and we can't have people coming and calling here trying to talk to you about the band when we're trying to run a business here. So I'm like, oh, okay. I go, so this is what I'll do. Wear masks so nobody knows it's me. I won't say my name attached to it. And then after the show, I'll kill us in a plane crash. And we'll be dead. And nobody will call us until we do another show. And then I'll kill us again. And then however many times it takes until we're dead. Forever. It's been 40 years.
40, wow.
This year, 40 years.
Damn.
So, back to the significance of that photograph is while I mean, I took that photograph, took those guys and do that. At the same time, I'm creating this
skate rock
fake band and creating skate rock and the skate rock release. And this was to commemorate the very first ever skate rock in May 1983. I think it was May. So this year marks 40 years. And we just played a show the beginning of June in Sacramento for the N-Men movie.
Right.
So we're still kicking.
Cool.
But while all that's happening and hiding it from Fausto and Eric and telling them all the other details of like, okay, I got this show set up and stuff. What I meant, jumping around here, but going back, I had received all those cassette tapes and I went into Fausto and I said, you know what we should do is we should do a compilation of all of this music. He goes, good idea, do it. Oh, wait. I'm just coming to you with the ideas, bro. No, this is great. Just go do it. I have no idea. The fucking first thing to do read a book, learn how to do it. There's a book somewhere that tells you how to do it. Just read that book. Oh. Okay. Just like the writing, I guess.
Right.
Just less drugs.
Yeah.
And booze. So, anyway, I looked into and figured out and, ended up hooking up with Tom Mullen at Tom Mullen Studios because I just coincidentally happened to know him from recording Drunk Engines.
Was that San Jose or San Francisco?
San Francisco, like at 2nd and Townsend.
Right.
In a really old, like what you would imagine like a textiles building warehouse to be. You would go over to this, service elevator, freight elevator type thing where you would lift up a wooden slatted door and then lift up the other one and go in and then pull down these two doors and this giant 8 foot by 10 foot room elevator thing and go up and then come out and here's Tom Mullen in this little studio and he's since passed, but he was a really great guy. I have good memories of that guy. He was even keeled. We were a bunch of idiots going in there. And of course, drunk engines, got to get drunk.
Yeah.
Do my vocals, loosen it up.
The whiskey.
I had a pint of whiskey and a big bottle of those little teddy bears filled with honey. And just drank whiskey and then just created. That's where we recorded My Dad Butch. So anyway, I went to Mullen to help master everything and organize and do the compilation. And then after we were all done with that, then put together the skate rock weekend. I mean, I did all that shit, all this stuff before internet, before cell phones. I have no clue how I pulled that off.
That's sick. It's like the DIY mentality so long ago with like, okay, I got to do this. I'm going to read a book and get inspo, but you're still doing it your own. You're doing it, so it's not that way. It's like inspired by that.
Yeah, basic. Yeah, and I drew the cover for the cassette. It was cassette only because that's the wave of the future at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Way before there were CDs. Well, way before computers.
That's crazy to think about, like all that shit.
At the same time, still building the magazine and still going on trips. And I'm like, I can't even wash my dishes and then, fold my clothes and get, it's like the day I get like 2-3 things done, maybe tops. Today, I mean, got a way more done than I've ever done in a while. But back then, I'd get like dozens of things done each day and go home at 4:30 and then go out and party all night. But then, you know, roll in at 8:02 and get yelled at for being 2 minutes late.
Crazy. It seems like you were probably spending more time there than you were at your, like, you were spending nights there and long days to get all that stuff done.
Well, the magazine was my whole life.
And deadline is
was
just
everything.
gnar, and then after deadline you can breathe for a little bit, and then it comes back again. It's like Burnett always says, the mag comes out every month. Like you got to hit that deadline. Like, so it's like crunch time that last week. Like, fuck.
Yeah, everything that you've worked on up to that point has to be done and ready for the putting it all together.
Yeah.
So you got to like think stuff through way in advance. You know, you got to war game it through and go like, okay, this is going to, by the time this gets done 2 weeks from now, I got to have all this shit ready and dialed in so all of this will fall into place. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, when that day shows up, I'm screwed. I can't do it.
Right.
You know? And then back before computers, we would go into, we had a stat camera. So we would have to burn halftones and make photostats of things. And nobody knows what that is. Nobody has any idea what that is.
Yeah.
But, you know, like line artwork, stuff that you would do in Illustrator that would be vector now, that's kind of what a photostat was. And then if you wanted to reproduce a photograph, first we would make prints. And then the photographic prints that would make, I would have to make them a certain way that was basically just a little bit lighter than what you would need to do for a print that you would hang on the wall. And so it would be a little bit lighter and a little bit flatter. Because on your print, you're dealing with silver halides. Pulled that word out of my ass. I don't know. I think that's what it's on the film. Let's just say it's silver halides.
Yeah,
but it's not black. So it's grayscale tonality to really, really, really dark, oily gray to, you know, really, really light gray, you know, like a subtle shade that you would see in a puffy cloud kind of thing.
Okay.
And then what you do is you put that into the stat camera, which is basically is a super large bellows camera with the back is where you put the receiving paper, and then down below it was like a big camera aimed straight down.
Okay.
And so you would put your photograph under glass on this thing and it would flatten out, and this camera thing is aimed at it. So if you put a photograph in there, you have to put a little like a sheet of Mylar or plastic that has dots on it. And you put that in between the photograph and the receiving paper. So basically, when you expose the photograph, it exposes through that dot thing into the receiving paper and basically breaks up the whole thing into dots. And then we were having this problem where the lighter areas were blowing out, having hot spots, and the darker areas were becoming solid black, almost no dot. And we had that problem for a while. And then Christmas parties were always fucking awesome, and back in the 80s, because everybody was in, that was publishing and stuff in San Francisco at the time. We would go and do a seminar and stuff like that, figure out how to do this shit. And then you get to know them, and then there would be Wired magazine was just came out, and they would host parties, and like at a microbrewery or something. So you go there and everybody would drink and you get to know these people and stuff. So you go, hey, fucking photostats and this and that. And then I met some guy who was like some old guru of printing back in the old days. And he goes, you know that orange paper that comes with the film that you get? Yeah. Okay. So when you're exposing this thing, get that orange paper and put it in front of the lens for just a few seconds of your exposure time. And what that'll do is it'll put a dot into the black. It'll put more of a white dot into the black, and it'll put a grayscale dot into the white. Where by that time, see, you got to have the dots on there, and that's a halftone screen. And so when you put together the artboards and do all that down, then you send it to the printer, they take all of that stuff that you wax down and stuff, and they shoot negatives. Okay? And so that dot needs to hold up and make it to that next generation.
Okay.
You see it? So you're taking that image and then you're doing that. So you want to make sure that you got a big enough dot in the white area so they're just the tiniest of dot. So when the thing prints, there is the tiniest of dot where it should be white. And if there's no dot, then it's a hot spot kind of blowout and it looks fucked. So, and that's what we were dealing with.
It's a lot of crazy shit that no one even knows about now.
Yeah.
Right.
And then now, you have digital cameras that have super high resolution, which to me kind of looks weird because I'm used to seeing negative film.
Yeah, the same thing happened with video. It's like the HD came out and you're like, whoa, it's almost too clean and clear.
Yeah.
Let's finish up with a song or something. I was thinking, I don't know if you want to talk about this one, but wasn't there a song that you guys wrote about Maria?
Oh, it's a song. It's called Aram.
Aram.
And that's Maria spelled backwards. And we would have a lot of places of work have the little tradition of when somebody's birthday, they pass around a little birthday card and everybody signs it.
Yeah.
So I got one. It was Maria's birthday or something, and I wrote off the top of my head. I made some. The days grow short and the nights grow cold. A steaming wind begins to blow. Mountaintops hard to reach, and intimate secrets are hard to keep. Happy birthday. And I was like, holy shit, that's kind of cool. So I photocopied it. And then we were trying to put together some an album, the Frontside Grind album, and Ray Stevens had written 2 songs. He composed 2 songs, acoustic type. One was Aram and the other one was Moments of Clouds and Rain. Wow, I hadn't thought about that song in a long time. But we don't play those songs live because they're
acoustic.
Yeah, and it just kind of has it's just difficult to pull off live. So anyway, I was Ray's hey, I got these. You got any lyrics to put with it? I'm flipping through my little thing. I go, hey, this will work. So I ended up naming it Aram in homage to her.
What could you tell people that don't know who Maria is? What Maria was receptionist at the mag? Multi stuff, right?
Yeah, she wore a lot of hats at the magazine. She's Fausto's niece, I believe. Maria Martinez, I think Martinez. She worked sometimes in reception, but she ended up doing a lot of stuff on the, I don't know if she did bookkeeping. She might have done bookkeeping. But on that end of, I would do like the creative stuff, and she was in the area of the company that dealt with the day-to-day thing, make sure that the power stayed on, and the water was good. She didn't drink or do any of the drugs, so always more for me. But yeah, she was a sweetheart. I miss her dearly.
The days grew short, the nights grew cold, the freezing wind begins to blow, the mountaintop is hard to reach, intimate secrets are hard to keep.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talking Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at TalkinSchmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkinschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. A very special shout out goes to the executive director, Sharal Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it! This is Talking Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.
Keep the wheels greased.